Well, SEC Media Days are underway, and we're watching Mississippi State closely. What can we expect from Jeff Lebby in year two, and how will the Bulldogs stack up in a deep SEC?
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Go to FanDuel.com. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got a fun show for you today, so sit back on your morning commute and obviously pay attention to the road, but listen to our podcast here and let's have some fun. But we talked about SC Media Days. That's been going on all week. But after that, we got to talk about Diamond Dogs could possibly lose two pitchers to the MLB draft. Kind of surprising, especially one of them for sure. The other one may have not been as surprising depending on what you thought about him. And the athletic department announced a record amount of fundraising. So we're going to talk about that to wrap things up today. But first, we got to start with the SEC Media Days. They've been going on since Monday, obviously later on today. I believe I saw it was 10:50 is when Mississippi State will kick things off. And I want to say I looked all throughout SEC's page, and it doesn't ever actually specify if those times are Eastern time. I would assume they are, so it would be 9:50 Central time. But it actually usually they have it like listed somewhere that it's all times are Eastern time, but they don't. But that's when Mississippi State will get out of the way. So Jeff Lebby will kick things off. Blake Shapen will be available. Isaac Smith, Brennan Thompson. We've talked about those guys going, but kind of what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to hear from the players. That's always my favorite part, because unless you just get a good soundbite from a coach, I could give you probably 90% of Lebby's press conference right now. They all kind of say the same thing every year. It's when you get to talk to the players and you start hearing some of those cool workout stories, or, hey, this guy came in and he's done this that's surprising, those kind of things. That's what I look forward to the most at Media Days.
I'm the one that I always like hearing who the players kind of take a shot at, or the coaches. Like, we've heard coaches do it, but who do they kind of take a jab at? We obviously heard of the jab that Lane Kiffin took. We talked about it on yesterday's podcast.
Right.
But who does Mississippi State do any of them take a shot at anyone? I mean, when you go 2-10, it's hard to take a shot at anyone. But maybe I'm just interested to see, who do they take a shot at? Do any of them take a shot at anyone? But I also want to hear from. I'm really interested to hear from Brennan Thompson. I've mentioned him several times. But just how, you could tell at Oklahoma, even though he wasn't, expected to play a lot, but ended up playing a lot because they were down their top 5 receivers. He was kind of a leader in the room despite not playing receiver much in his life. And I think people are going to be very impressed by him, because unless you followed Oklahoma last year, or you follow Mississippi State this year, or you went back when he was, announced he was coming to Mississippi State, and you went back and read some stuff of what he did at Oklahoma, you're not really going to know much about Brennan Thompson and what he's about as a person. And I think he's going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I think he's going to give some great interviews, some great quotes, and really, I could see him being someone that you kind of, every year you hear from a couple players a lot.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be one of the players that we hear from a lot, because he's obviously being a transfer and being trusted to go to Media Days. He's someone that Lebby trusts, someone that is, well-spoken, going to give the good quote without saying anything too crazy that would get someone in trouble. So I think we'll hear from him a lot going forward.
Yeah, I think so too. And then Blake Shapen, what I want to hear from him is just how his injury recovery, and I know he's fully recovered from last year's injury. I'm not really talking about that, but just kind of where his mindset's at, because he's had a lot of injuries in his career. And all of them always say they had the best offseason ever. So I know he's going to say that. Right, and they're in the best shape. But I want to hear him kind of talk about, maybe kind of be open and honest about the challenges he's had to go through, and why he thinks, and again, I know a lot of the stuff players say is kind of coach speak about why they think this year is going to be different, kind of thing. But I'm interested to see, because I feel like, and I've always taken this approach when it comes to media days or any kind of media availability in general. When a player or a coach is talking about all these positives, you have to take it with a grain of salt, obviously, because they're not all positives, even though they may sound like it. We've heard teams in the past talk about, oh, yeah, I know the concerns of the offense, but the offense is going to be great this year, and then the offense sucked, or the defense is going to be great this year, and the defense was terrible. But I do feel like you can pick up on some things. And one things that you can pick up on, some of the things you can pick up on is, are they talking about a specific player a lot? All of them. Because you're not coached to all, hey, I need all 4, 3, 5, 6, however many come. I need all of y'all to talk about this player and talk about how good he's been. So if they're talking about one key player over and over about this guy's really showing out, this guy's really taking a jump, that's something I would keep an eye on for the season.
Yeah, that and what they're not saying. Like if they keep mentioning this is going well, this is going well, this is going well, what's the 1 or 2 things they're not talking about it going well? Because if they can't even spin it at a media day, it means it's probably going real bad.
Right.
And having Shapen and Thompson there, I'm also interested to kind of hear from both sides how that whole meshing of quarterback with receivers is going, because there's a lot of new receivers in that room, and the ones that were here last year didn't get to play with Shapen a whole lot. So, I mean, just kind of hearing how all of that's going, because that's a big thing, the timing, route depth, all that kind of stuff, just how it's all starting to click and fall into place as we get closer to fall camp.
Yeah, and you always can pick up on clues also what they say in their opening statements, because what they said in their opening statements is usually thought out. Like, this is what I want to make sure I emphasize. And so if Shapen goes through the whole thing and doesn't mention the offensive line, and the offensive line has to be asked, that's probably a concern, but that doesn't mean always that if he comes out and says how great the offensive line's playing, that it is going to be doing well. You never know. Maybe that was an emphasized thing that they wanted them all to say. But you can just pick up on some clues. And another thing you can pick up on is, at this point, you should be able to kind of tell what a coach answer is. And so if let's say Shapen's asked, how the wide receivers doing? Well, they're all doing really good. They're improving. And like, that's the coach answer.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell straight up. But if you can see in his face that he kind of lights up and is, oh man, this guy is really shown out, I'm really happy about him. And then we added Brennan Thompson and we added Anthony Evans, and they're going to bring another deep threat to the team that just wasn't here last year, and like just going on and on about the room, then that's something to note, at least if you're taking notes during the thing. But if it's just your typical, all the guys are doing good, we're building that camaraderie and everything's going to go well and all that, that's coach speak. That's not actually what's happening.
Yeah, if they have specific examples, whether it's a player or a specific thing, that normally means that they have an actual reason that something's going well, and it's not just I'm not throwing people under the bus. Things are going great. It's going great. But then the best stories, like I mentioned at the beginning of the workout, the ones that especially you typically hear with defensive players more. It's like, oh yeah, this 330-pound D tackle is in there doing pull-ups with a chain and 20 pounds on each side, and you're just like, holy crap, that is a strong man. Those are my kind of favorite stories that come out, because you can pick up on things here and there and find out what's not going to go well and get your generic answers. But it's the stories that you realize are what's kind of the brotherhood stories, the ones that you realize these guys really are in it together, and you kind of see the friendships or the stories I enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I another thing I want to hear about, do they say anyone that we just haven't talked about on the show? Maybe it's a new transfer. Maybe it's a new freshman. Maybe it's just a guy that didn't play much last year that's taking a step. Who are some of the names that we just aren't expecting much from?
Right.
That it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we need to start taking note of this guy, because he's at least impressed his teammates a little bit. And again, every person they name doesn't mean they're going to have this great year. Doesn't even mean they're going to have a big impact in terms of playing time. But it's just stuff to kind of note going forward. Like Blake Shapen's probably going to talk about the whole quarterback room. Well, obviously, all of them aren't going to play this year. At least you hope not, or something that something went really bad. But yeah, he's probably going to talk about a lot of them, and he's going to talk about Kamario Taylor, I'm sure, and talk about how much he's improved as a
Oh,
freshman.
he's watching film and
Yeah,
all that.
yeah, he's going to go on about that. But does that mean Kamario's going to have a big impact this year? Probably not. So yeah, I mean, those are just kind of the things I look forward to, and I want to see how confident Lebby sounds up on the podium.
Yeah, that would be big. Kind of judging, because while his answers might be generic coach speak positive, you can pick up on some body language stuff if things aren't going as well as he thought. And
Right.
yeah, if they mention some, incoming freshmen or redshirt freshmen, they might not have an impact this year, but next year, that's the name to really watch, because that means they're on the right track.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, coming up next, could the Diamond Dogs be losing 2 pitchers? Both of them were going to play a key role. One of them is a pretty big surprise if he decides to stay in the MLB draft. We'll talk about that. That's coming up next. Well, summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I know friends that use FanDuel. They love to track their favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. My favorite part, it's easy to use, fast to pay out, makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. What better thing to do than you're sitting there, you're kind of bored, and I'm going to throw some money on this game so I can now be invested in it. And otherwise, I wouldn't have cared about who wins that game or even cared to turn the game on. Well, now I'm going to watch it because I got some money on the line. So definitely check that out. Also, I love the same game parlays. I mentioned that many times, especially during basketball season. Someone's having a hot game or a hot series, you throw some money on him to continue that hot streak, or someone's struggling and you throw money on that as well. But if you're new to FanDuel, listen up. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so obviously the MLB draft wrapped up earlier this week on Monday, and now it's wait-and-see mode. What guys are going to stay in the draft, what guys are going to come out and go back to school. And that's just, we're in the wait-and-see mode. Positive, Jacob Parker. He is going to Mississippi State. He tweeted that out on Tuesday that he was going to be at Mississippi State. I didn't see anything official from JoJo. Again, assume he's going pro.
He's going. Yeah, he's gone. And there was something I was reading, I believe it was on the 24/7 on the Mississippi State page, that they were kind of breaking down the things. And they said, and I knew this, but I didn't realize quite to the extent of it, but that if you're drafted in the top half of the draft, which is the first 10 rounds, which is insane that it's 20 rounds, but that the team would get hit with massive penalties, or at least a penalty if a player doesn't sign. So the deal is like 99% agreed upon before the draft pick comes in. So, I mean, really, assuming they pass physicals, that means Davion Hickson, which drafted by the Dodgers, the Rice transfer, and Evan Siary drafted in the 8th round, like, they're gone, barring a physical, unless they fail a physical, which if that happens, they can always just renegotiate and they still might be gone.
Yeah, which Evan's a brutal one, because that was one that we talked about many times. We didn't not once did we even consider the possibility he might stay in the MLB draft. We thought with how he finished at the end of the season, he would want to ride that momentum into this upcoming season, and that's just not the case. And then obviously Hickson was a guy that we were very excited about. Now, we knew there was always a chance he could go pro, but he was a guy, if I remember correctly, he was a guy that was projected pretty high. Kind of had a down year, but it was more because Rice had a bad year.
Right.
He didn't play great either, but I mean, just Rice, the players around him didn't play great. And so it looked like he was trying to go to a school to have a strong season and get that draft stock back up to where it was. And you thought that would be a perfect opportunity at a place like Mississippi State. Yeah, last year, I'm looking at his numbers. He actually had a good season, or a decent season. 3.82 ERA is kind of high, but he had a 2-7 record, which isn't really indicative of what kind of season he
Well, he
actually
had good
had.
stuff.
Yeah, because he had 90 strikeouts in 73 innings. So, like, he had a monster season, but the record obviously wasn't very good. So he looked like a perfect candidate to come to Mississippi State, have a stronger year, get that stock back higher, but I guess not.
Yeah, yeah, and it seems. I mean, like I said when we kind of talked about this, I figured he would go because he was drafted by the Dodgers, and they're known for their pitching development,
Right.
so that would be a great place for him. Evan's the shocking one. It hurts to lose him because you figured, if he's not your ace, he's probably your number two. And now with him most likely gone, again, barring something crazy happening, your pitching staff is kind of, I mean, what do you got? Tomas Valencias, Ben Davis, and some question marks.
Yeah, I mean, a pitching staff you were once very excited about. The only question mark was who was going to step up and be. Sorry, StreamYard messed up there, and we lost connection for a little bit, but we're back. But what I was saying was, the biggest question mark about the pitching staff was who was going to be the ace, and Evan was kind of the leader in the clubhouse for that. And now he hadn't shown fully that he could be that person, but he had showed signs, so maybe he takes that step. And so losing him would be a massive loss because now your biggest question mark is an even bigger one because you got a lot of guys that really haven't proven yet that they could take that step and be there. We think Tomas will be able to do it, and that was the name we threw out, and maybe Ben Davis takes the Pico type jump and becomes that. But I that it's just a big question mark.
Yeah, it's huge. And I mean, they brought in a ton of pitchers. I mean, we talked about Maddox Webb, Jackson Logar, Tyler Pitzer, William Kirk, Brendan Sweeney. But a couple of those guys are just relievers. Like they've never really started. So you assume they'll just continue to do that. And then you have some that maybe they were relievers because, there were established starters at the team they were playing for previously. So they didn't have a spot for them. And then you obviously have Jack Bauer coming in. What role does he fill? But yeah, this went from you knew who your starters were. You were like, all right, cool. We're going to go into the season, and we know our top three starters are in some order: Valencias, Evan, and Hickson. One of those is left.
Yeah.
So this is hey, they kept Justin Parker. This is going to be kind of on him to develop these guys and to make the right call on who he can stretch out, who's going to take that step, show, that keeping him was the right move.
Yeah, it's just, again, a brutal loss to lose both because, again, we were talking about how deep this staff was going to be, and the biggest question mark was just find that ace, and then you got a really great staff. Well, now, not only did you take a big hit to your depth, you took a big hit to who your possible ace was being. Yeah. Hickson was another guy that could have been an ace type player. So, it's just a brutal hit, but
congrats to them for getting drafted that high. But yeah, it sucks for us wanting to see them play another season in Mississippi State.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Mississippi State Athletic Department announced record-breaking funds raised for this past fiscal year. We're going to talk about that and what it means. That's coming up next. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, the last fundraising fiscal year has ended, and a lot of teams, I don't know if you were following it, but a lot of athletic departments are tweeting out what they raised, what they lost, whatever the case may be. Mississippi State obviously did the same, and they raised $84.6 million in donations and pledges, which is the most in program history. That is the biggest example why Landon and I have said Zac Selmon has done a good job.
Yeah, that's huge. That is a crazy amount of money. I mean, and what was it, like 10 of them were at least $1 million? Is that 10 gifts of at least $1 million, which is huge. That means
more than the last 10 years combined, by the way, and it doubles the previous record.
Yeah, I mean, Selmon's getting that part done between getting the fundraising, getting these buildings built. He is doing the kind of the unglamorous part of the athletic director job incredibly well. The part that you have to get right before you start to see the results on the field. He's killing that part. This is huge, bringing this amount of money. I mean, and then there was an $8 million pledge, which is the second largest in school history, was donated. I mean, this is an insane amount of money, and he got it in every different way, every different amount. I mean, it was just great.
Yeah, and 84.6 million, more than doubled the previous record. So, I mean, he's knocking it out of the park. And again, we know the first comment on here is going to be like, but the teams have to win. Like, yeah, we get it.
Okay.
Yeah, but there is so much more to being an athletic department. And especially in this day and age, when you're going to see general managers start being hired for all these different sports, and they're going to handle most of the on-the-field stuff, and it's up for the athletic department to handle all the financial stuff. That's why you want a guy like Zac Selmon as your athletic department. And that's why right there that we said he would be a perfect candidate for Oklahoma when we brought that up, and why, Oklahoma fans who are upset, we told them it would actually be a great hire for you if you did make him the hire. Now, it sounds like they want to kind of go outside the box and hire someone from the business world. More power to them. We'll keep Zac Selmon all we want. But in this day and age, when the athletic department director isn't going to be the end-all be-all for the athletic department anymore, he's going to focus more on the fundraising side.
Right.
That's the guy that you want leading the charge, someone that the boosters are buying into.
Yeah, and they're buying into it. And all those people are going to complain about how many games football team wins. They're the ones that just want to go all in on baseball anyway, so I don't know why you're commenting on that. So, but yeah, this is the exact type of guy you want in this day and age, especially with the uncertainty over how the salary cap situation is going to play out and if it's going to happen and what the constraints are going to be on that. Having a guy who can constantly bring in, you're not going to break a record every year, but if you do, he's very, very good at his job. But if you have a guy who can bring in money like this year over year, when you have this uncertainty and have to keep up and rebuild some facilities on top of now paying players, I mean, that puts you in a great place moving forward. Now, obviously, on-field success has to come, but this is the base for what you have to build on.
Yeah, and we obviously know about the different facility enhancements that are coming with it. But it also, they made a point to point out that the record-breaking fundraising also comes with significant strides in revenue generation, ticket sales, NIL growth, fan experience, and other key areas. And they said at the end, all reinforcing Mississippi State's commitment to progress, leadership, and providing a world-class experience for student athletes in the new era of college athletics. The NIL part's the big one because obviously that's not been one of the strengths of the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and if you can make it a strength, it's gonna make it a lot easier to compete, to get a few more wins. When you can pay players a little bit more, those guys who are losing those close battles for because of NIL, now you can win it, and then you'll really start to see the results on the field.
Yeah, for sure. So exciting times to be a Bulldog for sure. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. All right, I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday, so check those out. Also, we post a question in the comments every day. We love your interaction there. And we also want you to hit that like, subscribe, ring the bell, get notified anytime that we post anything. As we're trekking to our goal to get 1,000 subscribers by early in the college football season. We were at 599 as of right now, so close to 600. So keep subscribing, tell your friends. We definitely love the support.
Yes.
And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.